By Shenanigan Sports Pub.
Hold the Mayo. It's time for Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Find out what's being served with Mike, Defo and Lubie, the only show that covers food, sports, and the proper maintenance of your car. And now, a man who had the distinction of having an entire health clinic named in his honor, Mike Mayo.
I want the flim flam sauce with the awesome bay with shafafa on the side.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Boy, am I happy today. We're on the road. We're road warriors this week on the Lunchbox. We got Jeff Defo DeForest and the man of the hour, the day, the week. We're at Shenanigans. Pat Utter, owner, proprietor, bon vivant, wearing his shamrock
He's
shirt.
not exactly an Irish St. Patty's Day mode yet.
No. And we are in the perfect place for, it's not only St. Patrick's Day week, but it's, and we're getting our set settled in here. We're now streaming on the 100,000 members strong Let's Eat South Florida group. But we're here at Shenanigans, Dania, 1300 South Federal Highway. Come on out today. It's the calm before the storm, because tomorrow we've got March Madness officially beginning after all these BS play-in
What
games.
exciting action going on.
And then we've got the NCAA tournament, all these big screen TVs. This is the greatest sports bar that you can find. Great food. I was just on the phone with Anthony Bruno, one of all of our, South Florida restaurateur legends.
That's not a restaurant. That's the Pope. That's the Pope. That's the Pope.
Bruno is the Pope.
He's the Pope. Yeah, he
And
took Anthony's coal-fired.
I said I'm at Shenanigans.
He's the
I'm sitting next to Pat Utter, and he says, "You give Pat my regards, and you tell people the best sports bar food anywhere around."
Thank you.
And that's what we got here.
You better not have said bar. It's a sports pub and gastro pub. He always acknowledges Shenanigans, and I have the utmost respect for him and his partnership, but everything he has. Coming from him, that's a nice tout. I got to say that.
So this is like Christmas and New Year's all rolled into one, between the NCAA tournament and St. Patty's Day on Friday when UM plays their opening game.
But I'm glad you said that against Drake. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it might be bigger than any other holiday for me. First off, it's my patron saint, St. Patrick. I'm named after him, Catholic. So here we are, and we can eat enormous amount of not only corned beef, all sorts of assorted libations that like. I see.
I've got my Guinness. Now, I've given up alcohol for Lent.
Yeah.
But I make certain exceptions, and Guinness isn't really alcohol. In Ireland, it's considered mother's milk.
During the war, during World War II, they were really low. Mothers that were low on iron consumed that, supposedly for the vitamin background. But my mother is actually Italian. My father's Irish, and she consumed large amount of Italian Swiss colony red wine, and I don't think that really helped me at all. But now I'll go along with that, but I don't think that is actually in the alcohol category. I got to tell you.
Well, I'm going to take a sip and say slange.
Okay.
Are you concerned about this Hurricane game against Drake? Because
I am.
The wise guys clued us in on Drake before the matchup was even made.
I saw that.
Yeah.
The line's moving, and I feel so bad for. I love that coach down there. I like the program, and this poor kid getting hurt. Maybe he can come back from that ankle roll and participate. But I saw the last game. It didn't look pretty. I'm hoping that they go in there with some steam. And let's cheer on anything local that we have here. I mean, we're fortunate. We have come on. I was watching Michigan with Howard going into the NIT. Come on, for the Canes to be in rank 5 going into the NCAA. That's huge. That's
and
beautiful.
FAU also.
FAU also.
Let me ask you something. Is it true that you were mentioning this the other day, Defo, that North Carolina declined an invitation to the NIT?
Total contrast to any concept that any coach would ever preach, which is, hey, we're going to play all the games that we can, and if we can't be in the NCAA, let's go win the NIT.
Wouldn't it be better to win the NIT than to lose a first round game?
I would think it would be better to keep your team together, and have as many practice sessions and games as you could possibly get.
It speaks volumes of the mentality of sports now. It's all about me, ego. Ego is so huge. I was listening about Kyler Murray, that he doesn't practice in the off season, and all these different players that didn't give the commitment to it. How could a coach not? This could be a great thing for the players intact to go on and win the NIT or get to the Final Four NIT and keep their team in those memories. We lose sight that everything's about winning and money. It seems like now.
And not even about winning anymore. If they're saying, "Oh, this isn't good enough for us. We don't even want to try to win this thing."
I happen to enjoy the NIT. I think it's a level of sports that you can get into a tournament from a small school, come from nowhere. And I remember when the Canes were good, that was their routine stop. I used to always watch it.
Do they still play the finals in the Garden, or are they moving around now? Do you know any of that?
I would have said yes to that, except some conversation we were having. I think Lubie mentioned that they've moved it around, so I don't know if it's at Madison Square Garden anymore. But you have to be very careful as you go into the Garden now with the face checking that James Dolan is doing. If you're an attorney, even if you're with like Morgan & Morgan, there's a good chance you're getting thrown out.
I've run into that sometimes at the Hard Rock, but luckily,
well, in various restaurants, have your
rules.
Picture by the front door with a big
what
red
did you
line
just say to me a few minutes ago? That Anthony Bruno, the Pope, I called him, gave a shout out for me in the sports bar category, best food on there. I'm happy with that. That's my lane I'm in.
Well, your niche is
so that's my niche exactly.
And you're comfortable with. Look,
so I'm in the NIT.
Oh, you're not
in the restaurant.
No,
NIT,
come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I got to categorize myself. When sports is your thing, like the new and reinvented Pat
Don't
Marzano,
sell yourself
Mark
short.
Fasolito, Anthony Bruno.
When you're
Runway 84,
Runway 84, fine dining. You got to go on open table, and you can walk right in here. So I'm in the NIT. I'm all right with that.
They have gotten fancy in there.
Yeah,
aren't
it's
they?
pretty nice. Pretty damn nice.
That the redo is something. I'm going in there again tonight with a buddy of mine who hasn't been yet, and I tried
the summer
the
wind
steak.
comes to mind.
Yeah,
every time I walk in, I think I'm like
they're going for that old
Mickey
school
Rourke.
Copa,
cool.
that whole old Sinatra crooner. They have entertainment, but you have entertainment in here every night.
Oh,
well,
are you kidding me? We're on the US 1 corridor. You just look out the window.
There's working women outside.
Oh, there you got everything.
And then there's
this is Dania. Next to Hollywood. Are you kidding me?
No, we love it
we
here.
have a tiki hut overlooking a vacant lot.
So we're here at Shenanigans, 1300 South Federal Highway in Dania, and it's Hollywood-ish. Did you go to the parade on Sunday?
I did.
Did you have a float still?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Matter of fact, you see that there's a 6-person golf cart out there. I had my wife and I, instead of throwing beads, we actually have to decide between airheads to give out to the kids or the lollipops with the Tootsie Roll inside, and we gave out about, I don't know, dollar amount, almost $1,000 worth of candy, and we found out that it's really good for the community to be partake in something like that because a lot of people appreciate it and they get out. We were all shut down for COVID for a while, so now people are out, they're having fun, they're interacting. Yeah,
and
it's
you're
nice
still Hollywood. You're, even though this
Die-hard
technically is Dania, it's okay because you're, I guess you have a son that's going to school in Hollywood.
Yeah, Chaminade practiced with the varsity. He's a freshman. He's got to bulk up, which isn't a problem. I always say my mother had made big kids, not necessarily smart ones. So we're gonna actually get down to him. I went to school right down the street here, Olson. That was Gladiator camp.
Okay.
So I know this is my area. This is where
I always say there's a blending of Dania and Hollywood with the same thing.
This is the mix.
We're
right
just
here.
as weird and in Dania, and and it's great that you're still down there in the Hollywood parade. I had to take my mom to one
accomplishments being the Grand Marshal. For an Irish pub owner. When I was asked that was like the Oscars. They were talking about the Oscars the other night. And how
did you see?
I have a plaque next door. I have it hanging up if you guys like to see it.
Yeah, sure.
That's like being like in Mardi Gras, being one of the heads of the cruise. If you are, one of those New Orleans people, but for you, a Hollywood native son, Irish and Italian descent. This is that's
I have every disease there with that. It's categorized as a disease: eating too much and drinking too much. That's my heritage.
It's all good. Well, I've been afflicted with that too. Did you see the Oscars that not only did Brendan Fraser in The Whale, which is
Oh.
something that struck close to home to me, but
Comeback kid, that guy.
this is my line of the week, is that they actually made a movie that won Best Picture. It's about my eating habits. It's called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, I love that. That what a great name for a movie, right?
When do you start getting this? This stuff ready for St. Patty's Day.
Okay, here.
How much corned beef are you
2,000
actually go
pounds.
through?
A ton.
2,000.
Literally, a
yes,
ton
yes,
of corned
2,000
beef.
pounds. 2,000 pounds.
Wow.
And
Will this create a shortage after
I hope
St. Patty's
so.
Day?
I hope so.
In the corned beef industry?
I'm buying in on all shortages.
All right.
No, not only.
And you know it's all going to go.
No, you never know. It's
Yeah.
like it's like the betting line.
Yeah.
You know,
You got to do the over under.
What's the most you've ever gone through?
The most I've ever gone through. Well, you have to keep in mind we start the menu out the day of the parade. Actually,
Okay.
the day before the parade.
So it's
on
a week-long
Sunday.
celebration.
So it's a week-long
all right,
celebration, and a lot of guys here have no problem going between all your food groups. You have shepherd's pie, which has your mashed potatoes and your
Do you use
Guinness
beef or lamb?
Beef.
Okay.
We used to do lamb and grind it in, and people, as many people who love lamb like myself, there's people that don't like it. So we use a ground sirloin actually. And so we have your shepherd's pie, we have your corned beef, but we have potato soup. We have all the food groups that Irish people love, and it's between potato and meat, somewhere
Yes.
in that category, and preferably preserved meats, which is corned beef.
Yes.
And we use the lean. My goal is to possibly hit one day 2,500 pounds, but
Wow.
the over under.
That's my goal too, except that's my
2,000.
I'd
weight.
like to get down to 2,500. That'd be great.
Actually, it's kind of neat because I line up the different purveyors and I do a little sampling of what I'm going to go with, and they want to know what the commitment is, because once you commit, you got to take it.
Yeah.
It gets on a forklift. It comes on a forklift.
Wow.
It's huge.
Now I
Yeah.
see a golf cart outside. Do you ride around and
I do.
bestow beads on
Yes,
people?
and it's been quite a few years since I was the Grand Marshal, and I like to aggravate the current Grand Marshal, and I put my magnetic stickers on my truck and car, and it says my name, Grand Marshal, and they're like, that was 5 years ago. I just said, once you're the Grand Marshal, you got to stay there. You know, I'm an alumni.
You can't go back to
No,
being
you
just a
can't go
regular
back. No,
parade goer
no,
at
no.
that point. Yeah.
That's part of the Irish culture.
Hey, so I don't mean to reopen old wounds, but
Go
I
ahead.
was at my mom's podiatrist this morning. She's a
Yes.
lovely woman that lives in Hollywood. But
right.
when I mentioned that I'm doing the show Shenanigans, she says, "Oh, by Park Road." I said, "No, that one is gone." She didn't know that. She, I guess, lives a little bit further west and south, but she was really upset to hear it. I drove by it the other day.
Yeah.
It's empty,
Yeah.
and I just
Well,
I
they
don't
have different plans.
I don't understand people
Everything
like,
has a shelf
if
life.
we're almost 4 months in and what you would be willing to pay, they've already lost $100,000 in income that they're never going to get again. But whatever, it's an old wound.
Well, it's
we'll move on.
Listen, and you have to understand something. 30 years ago, when I first came there in '92, I was heralded because it had been Ernie's Barbecue had failed, where
Right.
Anthony's is Andy's.
Yeah.
That had failed, and a whole assortment of places had failed. But when I first came there, you had Deli Den, you had Flora's, which was big time. You had Juan's, which was probably the most renowned.
It was a great
Chinese
eating roll up
restaurant.
and
Yeah,
down
yeah,
Sheridan. I mean,
I survived Blockbuster, this and that. So the common denominator is that things have a shelf life. I have no animosity there. They said that they envisioned a high-end place where they could come over from hot yoga or Pilates, have a nice glass of wine and an upscale atmosphere. And I said, well, that's not me.
right.
That's Anthony Bruno over at
Yeah.
on 84. Well, that's not Sports Pub. And they're like,
Wow. Yeah,
You're
very
out.
unfortunate. One
Yeah,
of my
Are
favorite
people
places.
finding their way? Are you seeing
oh, yeah,
some
we're only
familiar
2.5
faces?
miles away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know the funny thing about this story of, people took it personal that are in the working class.
In that neighborhood.
Yeah, they
As
did.
they should.
Yeah, they took it personal. They're like, listen, this guy never price gouged. He always gave us fresh, good quality food. We like the atmosphere because I thank him and I'm like, thank you for coming. And they're like, it has nothing to do with you. We just love your food. And I'm like, thank you. That's it. So it's worked out. Now,
But now this is the late night place to be.
it is.
for
We have a
people-
4:00 license.
Oh, that's great. And you said
Friday and Saturday.
You're
only.
Friday and Saturday you're open until
Yep.
4. The
Yeah.
kitchen goes late every night past midnight, right?
Yeah,
so
till
at least
2
till
o'clock.
2 o'clock. And so it's the perfect spot to come in if there's that late West Coast game that you want to watch and still eat and imbibe a little bit. Or if you have somebody coming into the airport on one of those flights that get delayed, as they inevitably do this time of year. If you need to kill an hour or two until the flight lands, you come on in here, just a straight shot down US 1 from the airport. Or when you pick up the people and they're famished because all they gave them was a bag of with 3 peanuts and 2 pretzels, this is the place to come to, right?
Well, the funny thing is, a guy told me, since you closed that place out there, this one's become an overnight success. I said, well, I've been here 15 years, so that's usually how it is with me. If you're an 15-year overnight success, So, no, this place has had a real upsurge, and people are coming in. They love the food, and they're coming around. It's a neighborhood place. And here's the craziest thing. Dania's on the move this town.
It's
they just had a topping off party at this place on Dania Beach Boulevard in US 1. 279 units, up and down, all
kinds of new high rises.
Big article today about California people all fleeing to get out of there, come here.
They're going from Hollywood to Hollywood, West Coast to East Coast.
Yeah. So I'm very comfortable in my little. If anybody would have told me when I was 12 washing dishes that this would be my place, I'd say I did all right for myself. I'm happy. I'm good.
Not too
I'm
bad.
fine. I got my golf cart.
Yeah,
I got my golf cart.
It reminds me of a funny story, and I'll let Defo chime in a minute. But when you talk about doing not too bad, I remember when I was married, when I was on my first, actually on the honeymoon, we went through Europe. It was right at the time when the Gulf War started.
Right.
And I rented, everything was dirt cheap, and we were driving through France. I rented a Mercedes.
Nice.
And we were checking out of this little hotel that was in the south of France, and it was run by a guy, some French guy.
Yeah.
And he helped us with the luggage as we were getting out of there. We opened up the trunk. He sees the Mercedes. He looks at my Michelle, nice blonde wife, and he looks at me and he goes, "Not bad."
Your
for
daughter looks like her, by the way.
Oh yeah,
I want to tell you that right now.
But he looks at her, looks at the car, looks at me, and he goes, "Not bad for a Mexican immigrant." I guess I looked a little Hispanic to him, but
I guess when you said I'm from Miami,
yeah.
Well, I always say
that smells great.
I see
that's our shepherd's
pie. Yeah, it smells great.
Well, enjoy. It's got a little hint of Guinness in there. And
are you a shepherd's pie guy, Mike Mayo?
I am an anything guy. I do like shepherd's pie, although I got to admit, when it comes to St. Patty's Day, I guess it's
That's an interesting presentation of it, though.
Yeah,
a little different, and looks fantastic.
We put a little artsy flair on everything.
Very nice.
Smells good.
We try to elevate our food to the next quality, not just potatoes, but meat and potatoes.
Smells terrific. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
So
we have
this is
your celery and your carrots.
Shepherd's pie. It's on the special St. Patty's week menu. Really, it's here. It's available. I made a mess.
That's all right. I'm glad you went with the plate.
You must
set it straight in.
With almost everything at Irish, you have to either have a little spicy.
Lubie is looking disapprovingly at me.
He's amazed because Lubie
is usually the guy who does this.
The most grotesque eater that you've ever seen.
I was trying to use my silver.
And then Mike Mayo came along, and that was it.
And I should have taken a picture. It's a gorgeous looking platter. And the other thing is, I really appreciate the use of the doily, which is an underrated thing in dining these days.
Oh, yeah.
And you are now elevated to not just sports bar, not just gastropub, Pat, but when you have a doily like this, you are in the realm of fine dining.
I have them on all my coffee tables. I have them all at my end tables in my house.
I love the doilies.
The doilies, yeah.
I love saying doily.
Yeah, I'm going to give some to Lubie here.
We got the shepherd's pie. I've got my Guinness. I've got Pat Utter next to me.
Wow.
We're going to have, Guinness and gambling if you have your brackets.
Oh, my God.
Defo, do you have any opinions on the tournament?
Not real strong. Like I said, 2 games I'm going to focus in on the first round. Drake, obviously, in Miami because we love Jim Larinaga. And Drake was a team that was touted to us by one of our basketball experts who I have respect for. A guy named Scott Spinelli. He used to be a head coach in the NCAA, was Boston College, a couple other schools. Good opinion. And before the tournament started a week ago, he said, hey, here's one of my sleeper teams. Keep an eye out for Drake.
Oh, no kidding.
He said they have a 25-year-old guy on the team there who's really good. And they have the coach's son is one of their leaders. He averages like 19 a game. And that's always a storyline where you see
Pistol
the coach
Pete,
and the
like
coach's
a Pistol
son.
Pete.
So sure enough, the matchups come out and there's Drake.
Thank you.
This is
taking
my
on the
favorite.
UM.
You guys went with the
Look at
gourmet.
that. Wow, wow.
Oh, I
You
gotta
might have
get
to cut that in.
I
a
gotta
little.
get a
And
picture of this.
we have our eyes on UConn, which UConn was a real hot team down the stretch. Came along much like Duke did, although with lesser acclaim. And they're taking on our man Rick Pitino's team, who you probably have seen many times at the track.
Many times.
And they're taking
fan.
on Iona. And then, of course, the big speculation is that Pitino's going to take the St. John's job right after this. And, I think that would be a cool way for him to finish out his career. He's like 70 years old now. And if he gets up
Come
at
on,
St. John's.
70, they say 70 is the new 65. We talk about
at least. I mean, you might even be able to.
I always get a kick out of that.
He's a young-looking guy and
Yeah, he
has a lot of energy.
Got
and,
a lot of fire.
So we'll see how he does. So you want to see how he does, A, against UConn, and then B, does he take the job, at St. John's after that, which is really what the rampant speculation seems to be. But I don't have a strong opinion.
A lot
on
of
the
older
tournament.
people are going to New York, maybe, right? Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron
What do
Rodgers
you think of
gonna be
that?
there?
I
Yeah.
don't see that being a very good fit, but
I got to be candid with you. When I see his demands, he's going to bring in. Hasn't this been tried before? The New York market happens to be the hardest market in the
That's
country.
great, by the way.
Oh, you enjoy?
Wow,
Thank you.
wow.
And you might want to give this a little.
Oh,
cut
I'm
here.
going to do that.
Yeah,
But
we're going to get involved
and
there,
this is a mustard cream sauce we make ourselves.
Oh, very nice, man.
But
Beautiful presentation.
he's going to. He's at 35 years old, I believe, right?
I think he's closer to 39,
He's
right?
at 39.
Oh,
Yeah.
39. Okay.
Yeah,
So
He's
all-
heading into
he's
Brady territory.
He's
getting
getting into
up there.
Brady territory. He didn't put the effort in last year with his own team.
No.
He didn't. He was down there.
He was
He was
detached.
down there taking the mind expansive drugs and
Right.
reinventing himself and doing some other shenanigans. Right. That was growing his hair long and
He's at a point kind of like my senior year of college,
yeah. You did.
where I was doing more psychedelics than
You
studying.
didn't know whether you
Yeah.
were going to gravitate to
Right.
gambling and radio announcing or radio announcing and gambling.
Well, and I spent most of that year at Vernon Downs, the harness track outside of Syracuse, which was not exactly around the corner. So
No. So that's
it was a bit of a schlep.
yeah. Well, that's what we have in
I'm
common.
busy eating over here. This grilled corned beef, fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Enjoy.
Mike
And
Mayo.
am I supposed to put this sauce on the
I
sandwich?
like a little dip on there. It
You
gives
gotta
it a
get
little
involved,
kick,
Louis.
little Dijon. We have a little,
Yeah.
a little.
So you see this as a typical Jet failure. One of
do.
his demands, though, was that they also sign Ray Nitschke because he didn't want to have to worry about the defense.
Yeah.
I mean, and they were willing to do it. They were they went to his grave and offered him like $3 million.
I just get a kick out of it. We grew up in an area. I was thinking when I was a young boy, I was at my uncle's house and we were playing football on the side. And the big thing was O.J. Simpson was the #1 overall pick, and he laid his
Out
whole
of Southern
career out
Cal,
there.
right?
Southern Cal, right? And he stayed there. And the Dolphins, they built their team. So guys would come in, and it was almost like indentured servitude in those days. Okay, now like everything else, like you just mentioned, me as a leaseholder after 30 years, I just got kicked out. Okay, so now the pendulum has swung the other way. It's in the other direction. Now this guy's not only saying who he wants, because who his offensive coordinator is going to be. They're going to make all these provisions for this guy who supposedly has some sort of miracle left in his tank that I didn't see. The only thing my heart goes out for him is when he was on the bench and they did not let him 2 years ago, not last year, when he couldn't, when they had to stop Detroit on the first down. But 2 years ago, they didn't give him the ball to go in, and it cost him.
Oh, that was ugly.
That was
Yeah.
ugly. That reminded me of the play calling when they New England when
Tony
they had
Sperano
the
play
beast
calling.
when they had the beast and they didn't run the Seattle didn't run the beast against New England. They got intercepted on the one.
Right.
I don't think
You got to go with
think
your
they-
strength.
Right.
And your strength at that point is give Aaron Rodgers a shot. He
So
deserves.
you can give him a shot. You give him all these concessions, and it's like what's this star that everybody Pamela Anderson? She's on her fifth husband or whatever. So he's like Pamela Anderson to everybody now. He's an old star.
Look, he'll be.
What's he
he's
got
a
left?
diva.
Yeah,
he's
a
making
diva.
demands. I hear one of his demands is that they create a new game show that he could host in New York. Since he didn't get the
Bowling for
Jeopardy
dollars
gig.
he wants to do. Yeah.
And then also, I think he wants to have on Friday afternoons after practice
Manicure, pedicure.
all you can
Petty.
the all-you-can-drink ayahuasca bar, which might
Oh.
not be so good for the Sunday games, but it'll wear off by Saturday.
What's that famous comic that took that and got himself sober? I missed out on a lot of years. What's that guy's name? That he's a character that he just retired.
Oh,
he did his last show at the Hard Rock recently.
He
He always
did?
had a cocktail in his hand. He took it. My buddy always used to tease me that I should go down there and take that. And
Which one?
That would open up my mind.
Ron White? Was
Ron
that-
White.
Ron
Yeah,
White.
yeah, he was
Okay.
on that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd be afraid to expand my mind.
So,
any
but
more than it is.
it's amazing to me that a guy who's like maybe going to be making 40 or 50 million at that age, with surrounded by
You want
maybe
perks.
nothing,
I
and
want
he
little
still
perks.
wants to call the shot. I would just say, give me the 40 mil. I'll be good with that. You know what? 30 mil.
And I want Beckham too, because he's not a prima donna either. I want him to throw too. I want
funny,
Beckham
too,
and me and Beckham.
When you were talking about the salaries and how it's gone beyond out of proportion.
Yeah.
I never forget. I was doing an interview with Ed Newman, the former Dolphins.
Oh, I love that
All-Pro
guy. Are you
judge.
kidding me?
He became a judge.
Became
Yeah.
a judge,
What a-
and he actually he had on the wall of his office there. He was a lawyer, practicing attorney at the time, also, and on the wall he had his original contract, and it was for $15,000, even though he was a first-round pick in the NFL draft. 15,000, and he said, I had to decide whether to play pro football or get a real job where I could make some money.
Yeah.
And that was where the league was at the time. So the owners were scorching these players and making a ton of
Oh
cash.
yeah, they that was ridiculous.
And then the TV rights got so far out of hand in the marketing that now they're getting their percentage, and it still equates out to $50 million for a quarterback.
It's crazy, but I never begrudge anybody that gets money fair and square. And you say, if they're getting that much money, how much the owner's raking in, how much the values of the franchise has gone up.
What I hate though is contractual negotiations being made public. I think it's a ploy on the owner's part to just see, let this guy keep talking.
Can you believe this guy?
Yeah. For the guy that's working, a forklift up in New England or in New York, he's working for a union plumbing job, and he's got season tickets that are a reach for him to see the Jets. Meadowlands.
They even almost tried to portray Aaron Judge as being unreasonable
Right.
before the season.
Yeah.
Well, no, they leak these things.
They
to get
leak these
people
things,
against them because it rankles blue collar, like you said.
That's what it
workers.
is. Listen, here you got to remember something about football. I consider football as exactly what America has become, Americana. It's like opiate for the masses now for us to have our football. Okay, we get to gamble. Do you see what gambling is on there? You see what the gamble is on the NCAA.
I hadn't noticed anything about the gambling.
No, I'm opposed to gambling, so I
No, but
wouldn't
you
know.
see, I'm opposed. I'm
people wagering on
vehemently
that?
opposed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the wagering on there. So you got you have your gambling. It gives a reason. So what happens is we're entrenched in this society, like doing this. So you keep leaking this out. Of course, they don't want to tell you what the what they're making in ownership capabilities.
Baseball forever didn't want to show anybody the books. That was the
Right.
big issue.
Yeah, it was.
Show us the books,
show
and
us
then
the
we'll
book.
accept
Well,
your
like
offer.
Donald Trump. Show us the books. This is the way it goes. They're not. Nobody wants to know.
Don't get Mayo started on Trump.
Yeah. But the point I'm making is, what are we doing here as far as the owners? Okay, I know this guy wants this, but I happen to think they probably make that out of the concessions.
Yeah,
you know, I don't even think.
Well, they're all making money, profit on the season
Billions.
before they even sell a
billions.
ticket. Yeah.
every
Billions.
time I go to a game and we have to pay
Lift the salary cap and see what happens.
$35 or
Then the
$40
egos
for
really
parking.
come to play.
We squeal because when we go to a game, it's $20 for a beer and $35 or $40 for parking. And I don't know
does
where
it have to be like that.
I don't
How
know
much
where
did Stephen Ross give to his alumni? How much did he give to his school?
I don't know what the
100
breaking
million?
point
What did he
is.
give? 100 million?
But people
Remember when he gave Michigan 100 million?
Oh, yeah, 400 million or something
400
like
million,
that.
something
Yeah.
ridiculous.
People-
So it does. Listen,
Might have been two.
It's profit driven. So that's what it's come down to.
But and this is why me and Defo, we love going out. Tomorrow will be at Gulfstream Park
Yes.
for our usual weekly. We give away Sunday brunch passes, 2 of them to 10 Palms. Our friend Joe Beja, they're doing a great job. Everybody who's gone this year is happy. But the best part of going to the racetrack is it's the only major sporting event where you could kind of come home with more money in your pocket than when you
I
left.
like that idea.
And we
you
did
can,
that last
and
week.
there you can go to 10 Palms and see Charles and Joe Beja, and you can have a little club sandwich and a
They've
gourmet
done
cocktail,
some-
or you can go stand on the finish line and bet your $2 wager, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to.
It's
Or
good. It's-
follow Mike and I after the show as we stoop for tickets to see if anybody threw away a winning show ticket after an objection was filed.
I need to have the
I have
losing
a great
tickets.
story with that. I love when when a guy leaves before they taking a horse down. It's
Right.
going to change the whole complexity, and you're sitting there wondering what's going to come up.
Right.
It's like a fishbowl. Like if this comes up,
Well,
or
it's
that
going to
one-
have to be a
Yeah.
3-6.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's really that is the full
You
Monty.
get your money's worth of
Oh,
anxiety.
I got put up into a trifecta last weekend. It's a great
Nice.
feeling when you kind of back in
Oh,
and
yeah.
skank your way into a winning ticket.
So
But-
isn't your immediate thought, though, it's about bleeping time?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, that I
yeah.
caught a break on these
Oh,
things.
yes.
Yeah, 'cause it's
Always
usually the
goes
other way.
Yes.
Hey, it's time to take our first break. But
This is delicious. I haven't had a chance to get into that yet, but
Please do.
shepherd's pie, outstanding, and I'm a big shepherd's pie fan.
Awesome.
There were a lot of Irish-oriented bars that had St. Patty's Day things that were renowned for it.
I'd like to say that I separate myself from the majority of them because my cooking process and the way that
You could
the
taste it.
Very
quality,
tasty.
the
Yeah,
quality
yeah,
that
yeah.
I use.
quality of
No
the
doubt.
ingredients.
If you're listen, we
This
got
wasn't
Michael
some
Mayo.
hamburger meat
No,
you
no,
got
no,
at the,
no, no,
you know,
no.
local
There's a lot
supermarket.
of.
Yeah.
I got to give props to my kitchen guys. They're really, really spot on.
Very
They
tasty,
Really,
yeah.
really handle this good.
Now, this is all really delicious stuff. Come on out, Shenanigans, 1300 South Federal Highway. All this weekend, they'll be celebrating the St. Patrick's Day, the March Madness, all the games on the big
you
screen
imagine?
TVs. And I got to put in a good word for our friends, another Hollywood institution, new sponsor. We're going to be there next Thursday with the seafood manager, Jose, is going to be showing off some crab cakes and also some of the fish that they're going to be offering for Passover. I'm talking about Delaware Chicken Farm and
Wow.
Seafood Market.
Big time.
Did you see the ruse that Mayo used last time to get the stone crabs? He said, "Why don't we have a stone crab cracking demonstration?"
Well, he did the same thing with corned beef.
Right?
That's his thing.
I'm the ultimate.
That's
It's like,
his
well,
thing.
why
snowers.
don't we show how they do
That's the
that?
same
And then,
thing,
you know,
yeah.
he ends up
Yeah.
getting 50
Well,
stone
it's
crabs out of the guy.
educational. It's
Right.
informative
Yeah.
for the people out there and watching.
He calls and says, "Who do I talk to
Yeah.
in order to get 5 pounds?"
He's worse than all of us. He's
a
worse than
colossal-
Casanova. He's worse than Joe Rose.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
I was wondering who I should speak to over there because I need 5
I'm
pounds.
no
of-
Aaron
of
Rodgers.
Colossal.
I did
stone
not-
crabs.
Yes.
I'm not
And
a-
mustard sauce. Should I get mustard sauce or
We
heat
just
up
want
some
to
butter?
show what you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Could you
Okay.
crack
For the
Colossal,
record.
I eat mediums, but colossal shows a lot.
For
better.
the
large were
record,
great.
I am not an Aaron Rodgers. I did not have a list of demands of the size of the stone crab.
He shows the guy a little
And
piece
Doug
of paper.
Carter and his
Yeah.
crew are so generous that for our demonstration, our first show out there last month, they happened to bring out the large, gorgeous-looking stone crabs.
Beautiful.
But this month,
Yeah.
You know, it's
with-
a chicken farm too.
yeah,
you
no,
can get chicken.
he gave us the whole
Chicken,
history.
You
yeah,
skip right
yeah.
through the
It-
chicken.
it was his
I
late-
thought it
Went
was
right
fresh
by it. He
poultry.
never even noticed they had it.
You never.
Yeah.
You know, fried chicken is a meat.
Well, their poultry display.
He never
is great.
mentions the chicken.
Yeah.
It's a chicken farm.
No, it's Delaware Chicken
Yeah.
Farm and
Yeah.
Seafood Market, right across from the old Seminole Classic. It's open
In
every
Stone
day.
Crab Emporium.
And Doug Carter, 84 years young, was telling us the backstory is his late wife Elsie's parents started it a little bit further south on 441, and it was actual working chicken farm where people would come in and pick their chicken for Sunday dinner. They would do a little business, and
Did they twist the neck and let
they
it run
did
around
the
in the
thing
parking
that
lot?
they offed the chicken in a very humane way. And
that was quite a while ago.
but
60 years ago.
and then they moved up in 1961, I believe, and Doug and Elsie took it over and bought out the parents, and they've been operating it ever since in that same location. Great seafood, great poultry. Holidays coming up, whether it's Passover with the gefilte
And
fish
a long history there.
and brisket, or the Easter holidays coming up next month, lamb, and also you can get all kinds of great seafood that goes along with your Easter dinner. Go check them out. Go to DelawareChicken.com for the weekly specials, and you can also arrange for curbside pickup. Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood will be there next Thursday. Come on out. Until then, tell them the Lunchbox sent you.
All right. Who's winning the tournament, Patrick?
Alabama because of
Alabama?
all
Okay.
Alabama
With the
because
controversy.
all-
Who's winning the
yeah,
Derby?
all-
Who's winning the Derby?
Geez, that Fort.
Oh, wait.
Forte looked pretty powerful,
looked
yeah.
pretty good. But I got to tell you something. There's always a dark horse there, right?
Yes.
There's got to be a catchy name associated with it.
There's one in the
I
weeds
gotta-
there somewhere. Still.
Exactly,
Yes,
and it's
yeah.
got to have a name like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's got to be I'll have another, or some sort
some
of
horse that's coming out of nowhere.
just straight handicapping.
I kind of like
is
the one
not
that,
interesting.
name-wise, the one that the Tampa Bay Derby, another pleasure horse. I think it's like Tap It Thrice. I kind of like that.
Tap It Thrice. Yeah.
Yeah, Tap It Twice. Yeah,
Came from the clouds, though.
Yeah.
He's going to have to break better.
We
I
have
think.
to have a combination of the big horse,
Good
or the
name.
couple, and then you have to have the name to go in.
Give me
so
some
you
long
can
shots, too.
justify
That's it.
saying to yourself, "See, I knew that."
Greatest betting event
Yeah.
of all the gambling that you could possibly do. You have to have money on the Derby.
Oh, yeah.
It's an American
I know,
tradition.
you have the combination of amateur hours, so there's tons of money in the
My
pool.
mother's 94 years old. She calls me. Who am I gonna bet? She wants to.
My
know. She
mom
wants
is
to cheer
always
in.
wants to
His
do
mother's a great
something
handicapper.
with the New York
Yeah.
angle. Any horse that has like a New York or Brooklyn in the name. All right, we got to take a break.
How
We'll
about
be
the
back
gray horse? I always like the guy that
only
likes
on
the
a
gray
rainy
horse.
day. Bet the
I
gray
want the
on a
gray
rainy
horse
in the
day.
slop.
The
Yeah.
gray, yeah.
All
I
right,
gotta
we'll be
have the
back
gray.
with more gambling wisdom on the Lunchbox from Shenanigans with Pat Utter after these words. People come to me and say, Mike, where should I go out to eat? I got guests coming from out of town. Where should we go? Cafe Seville. That's the answer. 2768 East Oakland Park Boulevard. It's a Fort Lauderdale perennial, serving the finest in Spanish and continental cuisine in a cozy, friendly, comfortable setting. Joey Esposito and Sally, his better half, they've been running the place for a long time. It's been open since the 1980s. They got great Spanish classics like paella, shrimp with garlic sauce, and all kinds of great seafood dishes. The stuffed veal chop, that's my favorite. Go to Cafe Seville. It's open every day but Sunday at 5 p.m. for dinner. Tell them that the Lunchbox Mayo and Defo sent you. Do you like burgers? Do you like wings? Do you like late night food and sports on big screen TVs and cold beer and friendly vibe and great people? Then you want to check out Shenanigans, 1300 South Federal Highway in Dania Beach. You go to Shenanigans, you get yourself all the good stuff, the fresh fish every day, the black and grilled wings, and of course, the kitchens are open late. Go there, tell them that the Lunchbox Mayo and Defo sent. Looking for a great place for steaks, seafood, and more? Go to Tropical Acres Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. It's at 2500 Griffin Road in Dania, just west of I-95 and the airport. They've been there a long time, since 1949. That means they're doing something right. You'll get old school hospitality from the Studiali family, along with great value, for tremendous service. Of course, you could also go into the bar for happy hour every day, 4 to 6. The early bird special runs from 4:30 to 5:30, and they have great value all night long. Also, a butcher shop that's open every day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. except Sunday. The dining room is open every day at 4:30 except Sunday. Go to Tropical Acres. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. Hey, it's Mike Mayo. When the Brooklyn boy in me wants a good bagel with Nova or some matzo ball soup, homemade knishes, or a great deli pastrami sandwich on rye, you know where I go? Grandpa's Cafe in Dania Beach. It's been around a long time, an institution, but a little over a year ago, a pair of New Yorkers came in, bought it, and refurbished the place. It's beautiful, and they are now serving great breakfast, brunch, lunch. They've got the omelets. They've got eggs Benedict. They've got all kinds of great baked goods like rugelach. Grandpa's is just off Federal Highway on Southwest 1st Street in Dania Beach. It's open 7 days. Go in there, tell them that the Lunchbox sent you. When I'm looking for some wicked good food for a wicked good lunch, there's only one place to go. That's Wicked Cheesesteaks in Fort Lauderdale. It's at 4824 North Federal Highway, just south of Commercial Boulevard and across from Holy Cross Hospital. My friend Brian there, he will hook you up with some really tasty treats. They've got cheesesteaks, just like the best you can find in Philly, along with lobster rolls, because that's where he's from, Maine originally, and they have wings and pizza and everything you want to have a really good time. Wicked Cheesesteaks, they're open every day but Tuesday. Go in there on a Wednesday. They got buy one, get one on cheesesteaks from 5 to 8 p.m. Check them out online, wickedcheesesteaks.com. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you.
Formula was still good.
We're back. I have my mouth full.
We're at Shenanigans. I'm eating shepherd's pie. It's so good.
You
I don't
have to
know
give
what-
a little critique, though, Mike Mayo, in your capacity as food critic.
Yeah,
Because
well-
the shepherd's pie is delicious. Usually
wow.
it's a big glop of
And
potatoes.
Brianna
And
is
Get a
now
picture of that.
Yeah.
That's
Look at
the
that
actual
steaming,
serving,
Oh,
guys.
wow.
This
Wow.
is
Rye bread. You need some rye
this
bread.
is
Wow.
now the traditional corned
See
beef
how
sandwich
lean
with
that
this
is?
platter.
Sandwich was
You know,
great.
we had the grilled sandwich, which was beautiful.
That was great.
And I'm going to put
Wow.
that off to the side.
Here, let me
because
get that out of the
But
way.
this is
we're
the
gonna
pièce
get
de
that right
resistance
back here.
here.
I got it.
That's
I got it. I can
that's
twist
the platter.
That's the platter. No,
And
and
well,
what's that going for during
Well,
the?
everybody else is getting like $19 for a sandwich.
Right.
You have this whole platter here for $19.
19
So
bucks.
that's
Wow.
all
Got the
inclusive. You
seeded
got
rye
your
bread. That's
you have your
proper.
rye bread, you have your potatoes, your boiled potatoes, your
Looks
carrots,
great. Yeah,
your
we're
corned
digging
beef,
in. We're all
your
digging in,
cabbage.
I'm going to take a
But
little dip of the
you have
mustard
10
sauce.
ounces there. You have a large portion. You
That's
see the
great.
size of
And
yeah.
I am gonna. I mean, I had the corned beef on the grilled sandwich. This is now the, I guess, traditional steamed off boiled
Yes, it is.
cabbage.
Yeah. Well, it's a
And-
little bit different. What we do is we keep the actual flavored that we keep it cooked in with all the spices.
Yeah.
And then we put them in I guess I shouldn't tell everybody my secrets, but we put them in shallow pans with that. And we cover them with aluminum foil and we give them a little toast in the piece oven. So it
Very
really
nice.
absorbs the flavor.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just people say I boil it at home or I put it in my crock pot. I'm like, you're not simmering it in the flavor long
It's
enough.
got that juiciness, the
Yeah.
brine, that everything is on point, as the kids say.
Perfect. Yeah.
And
Wow.
Pat Utter, I want to talk to you. You know,
Yes,
we've got-
sir.
since we've been here, the Let's Eat South Florida group has surpassed 100,000 members,
Wow.
which is a little bit crazy. And
Character. Mike?
one of the things that he raised today is about, you know, I say sometimes when Defo goes to a restaurant and he orders the wrong thing, he says there should be no such thing as a wrong thing, that if it's on the menu, it should be good. And I agree.
Is that at Scarlett's?
No.
When you-
Sometimes.
I always get the buffet there.
you get all you can eat buffet. It's only $500.
Yeah.
But in a similar vein, because Lubie was saying I went to a restaurant recently and I went at the wrong time, being on a crowded weekend night. And
Gotcha.
generally, I do avoid restaurants now on Fridays and Saturdays in season. And I like to say that the only table you'll find me at on a Friday, Saturday night is a poker table.
Oh,
But you know, in that vein, should top flight restaurants still be able to handle and getting the big crush on the prime time as well as the slower nights, or is there such a thing as going to a restaurant at a wrong time?
I think you're putting me in a situation like I'm Aaron Rodgers now. I'm Aaron. It's kind of I'm Aaron Rodgers because the hilarity of this is when I started in this business,